welcome back to this session on email etiquettes. Previously, we have focused majorly on email writing, but today we're going to talk about the etiquette section. It's a very important module, so please stay focused. First, let's understand what are email etiquettes. When we're talking about etiquettes, we understand that we're talking about values, behaviors, etc. But what about email etiquettes? Email etiquettes actually refer to the code of conduct that guides behavior when writing or responding to emails. We should not be too blunt, neither too humorous, etc. These principles of behavior can be modified to suit the intended audience and purpose. The audience that you're writing to is the major focus. Why? Maybe it's an informal email, it's a formal email, or it's a semi formal email. It is basically intended to maintain professionalism. Why? Because we need to make sure that we are maintaining the boundaries. It demonstrates a mutual show of respect between email correspondents. Definitely, this written record is being recorded into books. Thus, your conversation should not be such wherein it is questionable. The importance of email etiquettes. When we are following a few protocols, a few values and ethics while writing an email, we need to keep the following points in mind. The way you communicate reflects the type of the employee that you are. Your work ethics, professionalism, and attention to detail is displayed through your email. Again, if there are grammatical errors, spelling errors, or maybe you have asked to attach a file but you've forgotten to do so, or you've attached a different file, always tells about your work ethics. Email etiquettes help to streamline communication. When we are talking about the communication process between two or more parties, make the information you're sending clear and concise. Why? Because if the information lacks clarity, that is where the reader will not be able to understand a single word. It has to be short and crisp, otherwise, the reader might lose interest in reading the same. My communication with the other party would be thoroughly sorted if, in case, my email conveys the right message. But if there's a lag, I will have to resort to telephonic or face to face communication. So, if the email is a little haywire, what's exactly at stake? When we are talking about professionalism, there are multiple things that come into picture: my efficiency, my effectiveness, and how reliable of a person am I. When I'm talking about professionalism, it tells that if I follow the email etiquettes, I appear to be professional. Whereas if I do not follow these etiquettes, it seems that I'm unprofessional. I'm not bothered about whatever is happening. Next, we talk about efficiency. Talking about efficiency, we know that emails that do not adhere to the etiquettes are more prone to convey the wrong message. Imagine you wanted to convey that you wish to strike a deal, but the message that the reader interpreted was that there is no deal happening between the two parties. You have failed on the parameters of efficiency. Hence, inefficiency at your part might prove to be quite dangerous for your job too. Protection from liability. Practicing email etiquettes will help employees stay aware of the risks that accompany emails, reducing the likelihood of mistakes that lead to costly misunderstandings. Misunderstandings are very, very, very difficult to actually undergo and change. Why? Because when we are talking about misunderstandings, you will have to make sure that you're coming and you're communicating to the other person either face to face or over telephonic conversation. My entire process of writing the email will go blacklisted. That's the reason everything is at stake when it comes to writing a proper email. Some basic rules that have to be followed. Number one, use the standard font size and formatting. It's usually seen that people make it either all bold, underlined, etc. Please make sure that the standard font size has to be followed. Include a clear subject line. Again, the subject line's importance can be noted from the point that it may lead your email to be landing either in the bin or in the spam box, or it has to be read. Email from a professional email address. Why? Because when we are talking about professionalism, we are taking into account that you are not sending it through your personal email ID, you're sending it through your business email ID. Use professional greetings. Again, when you're addressing the other person, it tells that you should be using professional greetings and not casual greetings. Use a proper introduction. When I'm talking about introduction, how did you get to know about the other person? How is it that you wish to interact, etc., should be clear right in the beginning. Be cautious with reply all. Usually, when companies send messages, maybe it's a manager sending an SMS, an email. There, the manager has to keep a few people in CC or maybe BCC. Therein, you have to make sure that you're not clicking on reply all. Why? Because when we're clicking on reply all, the message goes to everybody. You're only interacting with one face from the organization. Prefer that one on one interaction. Use sentence case when we are talking about something important. That is my title case. The first alphabet of every word to be capital. Double check the attachments that you have asked to attach or you are attaching. A wrong attachment displays unprofessional attitude of the employee. You always have to make sure that there are no errors. That is, that you have to proofread the email before sending it. Unless the recipient has used emojis while communicating with you in the past, resist the temptation of using them yourself. Do not use them basically because when in the professional setting we're talking about sending an email, that is where we are saying that this act should be avoided. Be intentional about maintaining a positive tone, no matter how much you want to use the other style and other tone, stay positive. When someone emails you, replying within 24 hours is what is considered to be common courtesy. Otherwise, the person thinks that you have a laid back attitude. Keep your tone professional. Check the recipient's name twice. An error in the name or an incorrect name again shows unprofessionalism. Perfect your email signature. A digital signature authenticates the entire document. Thus, adding a digital signature is a must. Check before you send a business email. Why? Because when we're talking about a business email, we have to check the following things are in place or not. Don't be sloppy in an attempt to be friendly. It shouldn't look that you're flattering the other person. Avoid taking aimlessly at the email. So, when we're talking, there should be a proper aim and objective in our mind. Create an outline before you begin writing. Focus on one subject per email rather than bombarding one email with multiple subjects. Do not just leave message threads. You have to make sure that you're replying or responding in the correct fashion. Send smaller files, compress them, use zip files or folders. Avoid sending an email for discussions which are better done face to face. Always make sure you're adding a call to action at the end wherein you want to meet the person face to face. Let's highlight a few common mistakes that people often go through. One, forgetting to use the greeting or closing. We have seen this a lot many times when people do not greet. That is where the other person or the reader understands that the person is either not interested in communicating or is unprofessional. Being too formal or being too informal too quickly. So, here, when we are talking about this entire process, don't make sure that if in the first email you've reverted or the person, the reader has reverted in a positive tone, you might consider this to be an informal email. That's a big no no. Saying to whom it may concern. Not always this has to be used. Once the person reverts, he or she would be reverting with the name. Next email onwards, use his or her name. Hitting reply all. Again, this is a big blunder because you wish to communicate only with the first person whom you're interacting with in the organization. Including too many personal details, you're including your house address and other details? No. A simple contact number, maybe your desk number at the office along with your official details, that's it. A fax number if you want to. Asking questions that have already been answered. That does state that you're not reading the sender's email properly. If you would have read the email properly, you would have got to know that the questions have already been answered. If you still lack clarity in those questions, ask for a face to face route. When do you sound rude over an email? When we are talking about sounding rude, that is where we are talking about a few things. That means a few acts which the reader might think that you are rude. When you choose to use a personal email address in place of a professional one, usually what happens is that our devices are logged in through all the IDs that we use. So before sharing an email or hitting the send button, one has to make sure 100% that you're using your professional ID and not your personal ID. When you decide not to be sensitive about cultural differences, here, when we are talking about cultural differences broadly, as I informed you previously, in the West, the last name is not preferred, the first name is preferred. Whereas in the British domain, we prefer using the last name along with the salutation. So here, you have to make sure that you're respecting that. When do you not pay attention to spellings of names and end up spelling them wrong? That's a big blunder. It is considered to be unprofessional. Basically, because when we are talking about the professional domain, you have to make sure that all that you're doing is with a double check. When you use abbreviations and do not take time to spell the complete word, usually with because, BECZ, we have come to the mobile lingo, but we have forgotten that while writing an email, we have to make sure that we are using the proper word and not the abbreviation. There are a few words that have to be avoided. These are considered under the category of being rude. Why are they supposed to be avoided? Basically, because one words do not work over email. For instance, if you've received a mail which says, let's meet up for a face to face conversation on the 29th at 10 o'clock. Now, here, writing a simple fine or simple thanks will not work. Please make sure you're writing a complete statement instead. Words like fine, no, need, important, thanks, etc. need to be avoided. Please make sure that you're not using them ever in the professional setting. Let's understand why we need to avoid this. Fine has a negative connotation. People do not take it in the positive sense. With the same number of letters, you can type OK or sure instead. For example, is it okay if I take more days to finish the report? Fine. If you mean that's fine, go ahead, no problem. It sounds rude. You may take the desired time, but make sure that you are finishing the work within the boundaries set for the project line and we are not over exceeding the time. The quality of the report should be maintained. These are statements that have to be included if you do not wish to sound rude. Why is it that we have to avoid the usage of no? This is basically because when we are talking about no, it makes you sound irritated. Usually we say no, a simple no, when we do not want to do something. Here, for example, no, it's on the fifth floor. If somebody writes to you and asks if your meeting is on the third floor and it's not, you can simply say it's on the fifth floor. There is no need to add the no because it gives a negative feeling again. Why do we need to avoid the use of need? This is basically because it sounds demeaning. You do not wish to demean the other person, right? It makes you sound more like a tyrannical boss. For example, I need you to have this done by Friday. It's sounding like a mandate thing, and the boss seems to be rude. What about please finish this by Friday? That sounds more polite. in tone, and if you see, the tone has completely changed. The same message is conveyed, but the wordings make the request sound more easier to swallow. Here, it's not that you're talking to a junior, so you can use whatever you want. You have to maintain the professionalism. Why is it that we need to stop using the word important? This is basically because it makes the other person feel inadequate. It seems like you wish to say that your employees are not efficient enough. Let's see this example to understand this better. Here are some of the important instructions for the new copy machine. That means you are saying that the employees don't know what these instructions are. On the other hand, if you say employees or the concerned person can determine the importance of the task from the message. You have to make sure you're not sounding rude, you're sounding polite. It is an information sharing that is happening and taking place here. Let's bring this session to a pause here. We'll be right back with more such interesting videos. Thank you so much.